there's quite a lot happening pertaining to the confusion as to how exactly did President Trump actually arrive at such, of course, sanctions about this expropriation bill. And we know the other issue also relates to South Africa's stance as being an ally to Gaza and, of course, taking Israel to the International Criminal Court. Let's now try Professor of International Relations and Director of the Center for the Study of the United States at the University of Wits, who joins us now to further unpack this. That is Professor Gilbert Khadiagala. Professor, good to have you on the show on this very important topic. So good afternoon. And firstly and honestly, what do you attribute to the events that actually led to, should I say, this very informed order to even make the light of day?
Trump has had a very consistent line on South Africa. You remember that during the first term, he came up with a tweet that was complaining about South Africa mistreating white farmers. So I think the executive order is not unusual, because what he wants to do is essentially to escalate the war with South Africa. And it's a very consistent, therefore, on his part, to be making all these kinds of accusations about the Land Acquisition Act and so on. Mm-hmm. But I also expect that there is an expectation within the U.S. that the relations with South Africa are not going to improve anytime soon. So whatever they can say or whatever Trump comes up with is actually not very surprising. And you recall that Marco Rubio was very clear that he's not coming to the G20 meeting. So it is an escalation in the war of words. But I would caution that I don't think South Africa should be responding to every tweet that Trump comes up with every day. The executive order is serious, actually, because it is a threat to the trade relationships and all these other issues around the U.S.-South Africa relations. But it also says that the diplomatic approaches are not going to work, because Trump is determined to use his own pulpit, in fact, to escalate this war. So I don't think the pleading from South Africa for Trump to return to sanity or to read the Land Appropriation Act is going to help, because he's really not interested in any argument that is going to be presented as a counter-argument to what his position is.
And speaking of a counter-argument, Professor, I mean, you remember back a couple of years ago when another false narrative that white farmers were being targeted and killed in South Africa, and this debate actually sparked international questions, and this narrative was indeed proven to be incorrect and misleading. So now we are back to this debate, and the narrative has also shifted to only the ANC leaders must now be sanctioned, as reality dawns that this has really put everyone, especially those largely benefiting from the aid as well as trade deals between South Africa and the United States.
Yeah, the line is the same, that the ANC should be demonized because they are a threat to white farmers. Now they have escalated to the international level. They are taking Israel to the ICC, to the International Court of Justice. They are not friends of the United States, because the United States is a friend of Israel. So it's a very calculated move by the Trump administration, I think, simply to say we don't want to have any civil diplomatic relations with the South Africans. And I see, therefore, the continuation of these accusations from the United States. And I think Sharon was also mentioning clearly that Mr. Elon Musk is very close to Trump. And I would not be surprised if he has a role in this because of the closeness between these two men. So South Africa is in for a rough time with regard to the U.S. But I'm just saying, at this point, we should get used to the fact that Trump is going to say anything he wants to say about South Africa. He's not interested in the fact. He's not interested in the law. He's interested in essentially making himself hard on the global stage, and he's got his own issues that he wants to raise. So that's why the executive order is very consistent with what he's been doing since day one. He's signed now close to about 30 or 40 executive orders. And the purpose of those orders is essentially to make sure that he evades Congress. Because if you use Congress, then you are going to have to look at the facts, going to debate the veracity of these accusations. But he doesn't want that. I think he's interested in doing whatever he wants to do. And I don't think he's interested in any truth around these issues.
It certainly seems that way. A very quick one, Professor. I mean, if we say we do now get sidelined on trade relationships and so forth, so what is then the long-term implications and impact of this? And is it not time that we became independent of negative influences pertaining to our foreign policies and other policies?
The large part of the BRICS argument has been South Africa diversifying its relationships, making many friends or more friends globally, and reducing dependence on traditional Western powers, including the United States. So I think that is the point to be put to the table again. To what extent does South Africa build up on these alliances that it has actually been trying to create through the BRICS mechanism? But on the other hand, there are going to be short-term and medium-term costs to cutting relations, or rather the surveillance of trade relations with the United States, because the AGOA is important to the South Africa and the US. But I don't know whether it will get to the stage where AGOA then would be thrown out of the window by the Trump administration. There are already indications that there was an executive order on the first day that all trade relations with the US must be reviewed and a report presented to the president within 90 days. So we'll see whether AGOA is going to survive. But my point is that it will be very dangerous to lose those concessions from AGOA, especially for the South African economy.
Absolutely, as we've heard also in terms of reaction to the signing of this executive order. Professor, always great to have you with us. That is Professor Gilbert Khadiagala, the Axis at the University of Witwatersrand, weighing in on the latest executive order against South Africa by Donald Trump.